right, how you doing, everybody? It's Ryan here, and I am doing my first screen recording on iOS 11. So I thought I would share a little bit about chord symbols with you today, for those of you interested in it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my title up here. And I'm using a program called Fourscore, which is actually a music library kind of thing for your iPad where you can put all your sheet music in it and just go back and forth and find things. Very handy. But you can also put in a PDF of staff paper, use the Apple Pencil to actually write music, which is what I'm doing now. And it works pretty reliably. So we're going to go through that. So let's talk about chord symbols. So what is a chord symbol? You might see things like C, C triangle 7, C plus. You might see C little m7, C big M7, C M-A, J7. Okay, these are all different indicators of the types of chord that you would build. Okay, the simplest chord, of course, is just C here. So let's take that for example. When you see just a C, that's a triad. Okay, when you see any chord that's just a letter and it's a big letter, like a capital letter, that would indicate a major triad. Okay, make that a little better here. Yeah, I'll just erase that one. All right. And if you're not sure of how to construct a major triad, I did do a tutorial on this, but we're going to go ahead and just jot down the C major scale. Okay, really a major triad just comes from the odd notes, the first three odd notes of a major scale, okay, which is pretty easy to remember. So C, E, and G at this point, okay, and there you go. And give them the numbers 1, 3, and 5, okay. So as long as you know how to construct a major scale, which, you know, we could talk about that too. We have a whole step. Okay. If you have a piano in front of you, a whole step is when you go from one key, skip the very next key, and then go to the next key. So in this case, we're skipping the black key in the middle of C and D, and that gives you a whole step. Then you have another whole step. Then you have a half step. A half step, we don't skip any keys, so you go from E to F. There's no black key in between E and F. But the black key really doesn't matter because a half step could be a white key to a white key if it's from E to F, or it could be a black key to a white key if it's F sharp to G. Okay. The point is you don't skip any keys when you're playing a half step. One key to the very next key. Then we go another whole step, another whole step, and you finish with a half step. Okay. So we're breaking things down quite a bit here. So the pattern is whole, whole, half, and then let me move that down here. Whole, whole, half, kind of joined by a whole step in the middle. That's how I like to remember it. But anyway, back to the chords. Okay, we get a C major chord just from the odd notes of the C major scale. Okay, what happens if we want to make a seventh chord? Okay, you see all these sevens up here. What do the sevens mean? Well, I'll show you. 7 just means that you're going to add the seventh to the chord. So if I have my, that's a little too low. Still trying to get used to writing on the iPad here. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Okay. So we have our C major triad here, right? And then what we've done is we've added the seventh. Okay, the seventh is just the seventh note of the C scale, C major scale. Okay, so there's the 7th. Now we have the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th in there. Okay, and so since this is a major triad, and since the 7th is the note that comes from the C major scale, we call this a C major 7 chord. Okay, and you can play that on the piano. In fact, I might just be able to pull that up here. Let's see. Got a piano for you. So that would be C, E, G, B. Okay, that's what it would sound like on the piano. That's the notes that you would actually play there. Okay, so let's talk about all these different symbols here. There's a lot of duplication here that you might come across down the road, but a C major 7 can actually be notated a number of different ways. You might see C, big M 7, that's supposed to be an M. Or you might see the C triangle 7, or you might see the C M A J 7. Those are the big ones, yeah. So big M, triangle, M-A-J. They all mean the same thing, okay? C major 7. Okay. Oh, I forgot an extra one up here. What if you just have the C and then a 7, okay? That means that we're going to lower the 7th by a half step, okay? So we're going to keep the C, E, G, and then, oh, hold on, I've got to do better than this. Okay, let's see. What I should do is make it bigger. That's really nice when you can make it a little larger. Okay, there you go. Okay. All right, so now we have what we call a C7 chord. And my 7 didn't come out there. Okay, so what's the difference here? Oh, I had a treble clef there before. My bad, but you get the idea. What we've done here is we've taken the 7th scale degree and we've lowered it by a half step. So this now becomes what we call a dominant 7th chord. And some of my things aren't coming through. Dominant 7th chord, okay? We're going to get into talking about where a dominant 7th chord comes from a little bit later. It's also known as mixolydian. We'll probably talk about that another time as well. But for now, you just need to know if you want a chord where you have just a big letter and a 7, you take the major 7th and you lower it by a half step. And then you get what we call the dominant 7th chord. And really, there's only that one way of writing it. You just have the letter and a number 7. And that's pretty much it. We're going to do one more now. We're going to talk about what happens if you have a minor 7. So what if I wrote down C little m 7, or sometimes you might see C dash 7, or you might see C mi, or mi or min 7. Okay, well, I'll show you. We going to get that triad in here again. Okay. Now, since we have the little m, that tells us that the triad is no longer major. It's going to be minor, okay? And that means that we have to lower our 3rd of the chord. So the E is going to become an E flat. We just lower that to a flat 3rd. And we also lower the 7th to a flat 7. Okay, so we have not only the lowered 7th like we did up here in our dominant 7th chord, but we have our lowered 3rd as well. Okay, And that's what we call a C minor 7 chord. Okay, and let me go ahead and play both of these new ones for you, which I didn't do last time. Get our piano up here. All right, so we have C7. Okay, see the C, E, G, B flat. That's our C7, or dominant 7th. And then our C minor 7 would be like this. And there you go. So, hope you enjoyed this brief little chord symbol tutorial. Like it if you found it helpful.